There is a point in everyone's life when you realize the world is not the safe place you were made to believe it was. For me, that realization came October 14th, 1990, when I was only 11 years old. In this very building, just a short distance from the home I grew up in, a little girl named Andrea left her apartment to go play with a friend in the building. She would never be seen alive again. She was only 6 years old. Panic began to sweep through the neighborhood. Rumors began to spread. There was a sense that a predator had entered our safe haven, shattering the illusion of security that children and parents alike had held on to. School called an assembly to warn us. Parents were suddenly cautious in ways they hadn't been before, and the streets of our neighborhood felt different, suffused with a fear we had never known. Police cars were everywhere. Parents whispered behind closed doors, and we kids, we knew something had changed, even if we couldn't quite name it. I remember the father of my best friend Ryan, who lived across the street, took us to the crime scene. Ryan had been refusing to walk his younger sister Jess to school, and his father wanted to teach us a lesson. An officer there lectured us, telling Ryan he had a responsibility to protect Jess, that safety was no longer a given. But it was the sight of the tactical units, the crime scene tape, and the sheer weight of police presence that left the greatest impression on me. For the first time, I understood that danger could be real and was close. For 9 long days, Andrea's disappearance consumed our lives. Detectives Tom McNamara and Rick Gauthier led the search. As the days passed with no news, parents kept their children home, afraid to let them out of their sight. Whispers grew louder, and the target of suspicion became Andrea's very mother, a single parent on government assistance, and some seemed all too eager to place the blame on her. I remember hearing adults murmur, "It has to be the mother. It has to be the mother." Then came October 23rd. Andrea's body was found just a few floors up in the storage tank on the 6th floor of her apartment building. The grief was palpable, rippling through the city and our neighborhood like a tidal wave. I remember that day vividly, the way it felt like the very air had changed. For the children, it was the day innocence was lost. For the parents, it was the day they realized just how fragile their role as protectors truly was. Shortly after Andrea was found, the police began a rigorous manhunt. For them, this was more than just a killer they were looking for. This was the personification of evil. It didn't take them long to circle a suspect, a man who was familiar to Andrea, somebody she would have trusted to go with and who would have had access to all the building's locked rooms. That man was John Carlos Terceira, the building janitor. The police questioned Terceira multiple times before officially arresting him. DNA evidence, a relatively new tool at the time, would be instrumental in his conviction for the first-degree murder of little Andrea. He would be sentenced to life in prison. However, the privilege of remaining breathing was a luxury that should never be afforded to such inhumanity. Andrea wouldn't be Terceira's only victim, as years later, stricken by grief, Andrea's mother would take her own life. Andrea's story has always haunted me, but not just because of its horror. Like Andrea, I was also an only child to a single mother, no father around. I know what it feels like to be vulnerable in ways other kids might not be. Statistics tell us that children in these situations are often at greater risk, and that fact has kind of always stayed with me. As a father myself now, it makes me take my role in my son's life so much more seriously. I know how much my presence matters, how vital it is that I do everything I can to protect him from the evils that I know are in this world. Andrea was just an innocent child, completely unaware of the darkness that walked amongst us in the light of day. A darkness that took her life, leaving her body alone in the shadows while her mother faced blame instead of compassion. And it's a reminder of the fragility of the world we live in. But as I reflect on this tragedy, I can't help but think about Carlos Terceira. It's impossible for me to understand just how someone could choose such darkness, how a human being could become capable of doing something so heinous. There's no excuse or justification. There's no redemption for what he did. To this day, I refuse to believe that anyone is born this way, but somewhere along the line, he surrendered to the worst parts of himself. He made the conscious choice to let evil win. And that's what chills me to my core. The capacity for such depravity exists within humanity. That someone could extinguish the life of a 6-year-old child without remorse. I worry about the day my son becomes aware of the world's evil. The moment he realizes that it exists and can touch even the innocent. I hope I'll be there to guide him through it, to assure him that while darkness may exist, the goodness in people far outweighs it. It's a lesson I hold on to tightly, and one I hope will deeply root itself in his heart. Andrea deserved so much more. She deserved love, safety, and the same future afforded to all the other kids in the neighborhood. I think about her often.